Hey guys, if you hear anything in the background, it's because I'm watching the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, West Virginia, Minnesota. And as I talked about in my recent video, the College Bowl season has basically been turned topsy-turvy, upside down, due to the fact that you've had several bowls be canceled, teams have to be reshuffled into other bowls, and sometimes maybe being a great benefit with that happening. And then but then I find out, along with all of us, along with the rest of you, I should say, that the Fenway Bowl is canceled, and then on top of that, one of the more prestigious mid card bowls, I guess you could say, in the Holiday Bowl, which actually historically has crowned a national champion, throughout its history in BYU a long time ago. Its game between UCLA and NC State got canceled as well because UCLA, at the last minute, decides to pull out because of COVID situations and all that. And again, I still stick by what I think it is. I think, in all honesty, it's not just some of the things that they reported, like COVID and injuries and all that. There is truth to that, but I think it's mostly pride. I think it's the fact that UCLA, probably figured, we're going to be at Petco Park in San Diego. It's a nice facility, it's a baseball park, but they probably felt like they deserved better. Maybe they felt they should have been a New Year's Day 6 bowl game. I don't know. And I guess some of the players coming down with COVID or something today, or at least that's what they assume happened, opened up the opportunity for them to finally make a decision. Maybe they went back and forth on and said, you know what? Screw this game. We're not going to be part of it because we should be in something better. And NC State, obviously disappointed, has to basically, I guess, win by forfeit, if you will, technically. They have to win by forfeit, technically. And, because obviously they wanted to play, but now they can't. So whether or not they come out later on and say, hey, we will reschedule for a later date, that's totally up to them. My honest opinion on it, I think they should take a lot of these bowl games that they've canceled and reschedule them to at least early spring. I mean, look what it did for the FCS. They were still able to have a season. They were still able to play, some football, crown a national champion on the other side of the tracks. Why not do that for some of these bowl games? Why not just say, okay, Holiday Bowl, you're going to be taking place in early March or mid March. Same with let's say, the Fenway Bowl, the same with the Hawaii Bowl, and all these other, and the Arizona Bowl. Just say, hey, look, mid March, we're going to resume, these games are going to happen, and that's the end of that. I mean, look at the fact that they have the Texas Bowl happening, what is it, a week before the national championship, or maybe perhaps if things go askew, perhaps be the last bowl game of the year. I mean, it does. I mean, it does show it's possible to reschedule till later on, and I think hopefully that's what they should do instead of just outright cancel. Which again, even the commentators, were like, it's kind of suspicious that UCLA decides now to do it when they could have, done this a long time ago. Which again, I think, you know, pretty much backs up the suspicion that there's something more going on, but we're not going to really know till later. And I think it's about pride. I really do. And I think it's the same with everybody else. Like I said, it's not that anything else that they reported isn't true. Legitimately to an extent, it is. You know, it is. To an extent, but I think it's more about pride. And I've got a feeling sooner or later that's what's going to be revealed. That a lot of these teams feel like, hey, we should be in better bowls, or if we're going to be in a bowl, we should have it broadcast around the world, on a bigger network, stuff like that. It's about pride. Again, like I said, it's not just because of any of the things that they talked about that have some legitimate truth to it, but also it's because of that. But speaking of cancellations, guys, let's talk about something else that's going around here locally and probably happening in your neck of the woods too. It seems that several outdoor events for New Year's Eve are being canceled. Here locally in California, in Northern California, that is, we have two fireworks shows that have been shut down on New Year's Eve. that being the Sacramento one that's in Old Town Sacramento, and one that takes place in San Francisco. And the reason apparently is because of the COVID omnicron variant, basically the concern from it and everything. And I tell you, when this got reported on Facebook, this and before it, the Sacramento one, a lot of people were commenting on it, and a majority of the comments had laughing LOL emojis connected to them. And people were commenting and saying that this is a bunch of BS. Why don't you just tell the truth? Why don't you just say financially you can't afford it? Da, 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 da. They're basically calling out the bullshit, excuse my language, God, the bullshit that they see with these reports. And that it's nothing more than fear-mongering propaganda. And there is truth, and they do have a right to believe that, because it does seem a little ironic that one of the reports that came out recently was the acknowledgement, and this is by the Today Show, by the way, that the flu season is suddenly back after a long hiatus. Like, where did it go, right? So a lot of people are basically not buying into what's going on, and it's like, they just feel that there's more to it, that the city is not telling them, like the city's not telling them the truth and all that. And some of them, like I said, have felt that the city just financially can't afford it right now, both cities that is, because they're basically spending money on getting these kits out and about to, pharmacies and places for people to get, as well as spending money on getting more of the vaccines that they need, not just for the initial 2 vaccines, with the exception of Johnson & Johnson, but also the booster. And they feel that if that's the case, then why not just say it? Why not just say that financially they can't afford it because they spent their money doing that? If they would do that, I guarantee people would still be disappointed, but they would also be like, okay, at least you let us know why we can't do it because of this. But some things people pointed out is it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop people from celebrating. And I should know, I live here in Newman. People are going to shoot off things, shoot off guns. They're going to shoot off fireworks, M80s, you name it. They're going to do it all to celebrate and ring in the new year. So if the people in Sacramento and San Francisco think that's, canceling these traditional yearly, fireworks shows are going to stop people from celebrating, it's not. And a lot of people, like I said, are, feel and truly have a right to believe that there's more to the cancellations than just, concern for spread of the omnicron and all that. When actuality, it could be the fact that financially they can't afford it because they've been spending money on getting these COVID kits and these COVID at home kits, if you will, testing kits, if you will, and not just that, but also, like I said, spending money on the various distribution of vaccines they need for people to have to get for it to be available, I should say, for people to go get the shots from and the boosters from. So they feel that there's more to it, and it has to do mainly with the fact that it it has to do with that. It has to do with the vaccine deal. That's what it is. It's the money was spent getting the vaccines. The money was spent getting on the kits and all that, and that's why they can't do the shows these years, because they can't financially afford it. They believe that is part of the real reason. They truly believe that's part of the real reason. But again, I also look at it like this. I look at it the fact that, as I've said before, if this is all about getting the vaccine, and you're taking these and you're going in these areas and doing these things, making these cancellations to pretty much state the obvious, then just say it. Just come out and say, hey, we're considering, or hey, the city of Sacramento, the city of San Francisco is considering canceling these events unless a certain amount of people get vaccinated, at least by 1 shot, before the celebration. Or at least show us verification they've gotten 1 shot or 2. And that's it. But they don't want to do that, because they want to use these as PR, public relations, if you will, to send that message of, hey, get the vaccine and this won't happen again. So that's how I see it. That's how I see it, here, and as I've seen before with the news saying, all the other stuff, kind of like, when they make reports of this is the case going on, this is what I hear here in the news. It's like, and the cases are up, get the vaccine. At a certain high percentage, get the booster. That's what I'm hearing. In between them reporting, I'm hearing them saying, get the vaccine, get the booster. And that's what this is. It's them saying, oh, we're canceling the event, get the vaccine. Due to concern of the spread of omnicron, get the booster. That's what it is. That's what it is. Now, look, I'm not saying this isn't something to take seriously. I mean, I just found out that my dad spent the past 2 weeks in the hospital because of COVID and everything. Thankfully, he got his shot there, and he's got to go back and get a second one. And he, at first he thought it was a bunch of BS, but now he's realizing, okay, maybe it's not. Or it's not legitimately any BS. But he's also the kind of person that I know that once he gets his second shot, he's going to be like, okay, I got the second shot, probably he's going to get the booster. That he's going to realize, okay, what's the holdup on, canceling these kind of events if, there's a majority of people protected or they have proof that they've been vaccinated. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not saying it isn't a cause of concern or anything like that, but I just feel there's more to it. I just feel there's more to it is what it is. But I also feel that it's not just, a financial situation. It's not just of sending a message of, hey, get the vaccine and get the booster, or so these kind of things, these kind of events don't get canceled again. I also think it's another reason. And that other main reason, as crazy as this sounds, is to lessen, drunk people being out and about. That's what it is. They know that when people finish celebrating, with the fireworks that go off for between 8 and 9 in San Francisco and in Sacramento and other places of the state, they know that people will go out to all these other parties and celebrate. They will go to bars, they would go to friends' houses, wherever they can find a party at, they will go to. Well, basically, long story short, in my opinion, I think it's also that. I think they believe by shutting these down and giving up with these reasonings for doing it, which are legitimate reasons, but to me there's more to it. They feel that they're not only going to be potentially, sending a message of, hey, get the vaccine, get the booster, so this kind of stuff doesn't happen again, but also the fact that they feel, hey, if we cancel it, not only are we sending a message of people that people should get the vaccine and the booster, but it also lessens any drunk people from being out and about, and that might be another reason too. But honestly, I don't think that's going to work. Honestly, it's just like, people have commented. What's going to stop people from going to friends' houses or any other place to celebrate, shooting off M80s, fireworks, firing guns, and stuff like that off in celebration? What's going to stop them from doing that? If if they can't go and see a fireworks display that only goes on for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes at most. What's going to stop them from doing their own? And the same thing here. So, in my opinion, when I get down to it, when I look at it, I do see the legitimate reasoning, but I do see that there's more to it. And that more being the fact that financially they can't afford it, which a lot of people are suspecting they can't because they're spending money on getting these, in-home testing kits for COVID, brought to pharmacies and all that for people to have and everything to take home to see whether or not they have the virus. It's also the fact that financially they've been spending a lot of money to get the vaccines, to the hospitals and the pharmacies and all that for people to take, for people to get, I should say. So I do believe it's a financial reasoning. Obviously, but it's also the fact that I think deep down it's two other reasons. One of the main reasons is sending a message of, hey, get the vaccine, get the booster, and trying to lessen any other person or any other potential drug related, shenanigans or drunk, related shenanigans that could be out and about, because of the celebrations. but again, like people said, what's really going to stop people from, setting off their own celebrations with fireworks and stuff? But again, my honest opinion deep down is, yes, I do believe it's legitimate. There are legitimate reasons. I do believe that. But also, I think the more reasons behind it that they're not telling us are, as some people point out, financially they can't afford it because the money's been going to getting the in-home kits as well as getting the vaccines brought in and all that for people to take home, see for themselves who don't have to have the virus, and people to go and, get, people to go to like pharmacies and hospitals to get their shots. That's one thing. That's one reason, but financially. The second reason, basically, is to send a message of, hey, if you don't want these kind of events canceled again, go out, get the vaccine, get the booster, so we don't have to do this next year. And thirdly, it's to basically lessen the potential of any drunk, belligerent people that are out celebrating, after the fireworks display is over. Where people would go off and do all these other things, they're gonna basically, they're thinking, hey, this might lessen that from happening. But again, a lot of people point out that even though that those are good intentions, and there are some legitimate reasonings behind the legitimate concern of the spread of the omnicron variant, basically they've come out and said, look, what do you think's going to stop people from basically celebrating on their own, if you know what I mean? Celebrating, at other places, which, normally they would probably go to after the fireworks display is over. What's to stop them? Nothing. But to me, again, I feel there's more to it than just the legitimate concerns, because again, like I said, my father had it. Thank God he's home now, and he's doing better, hopefully. But yeah, I understand the legitimacy behind it, but I do believe there's more to it, and that's a fact. I really do. But what are your thoughts? How do you feel about these cancellations that are going on, not just here in California, like in places in San Fran and Sacramento, but in other parts of the country as well, locally? What do you feel about it? Do you think there's more to it? Do you think it's due to financial reasons? Do you think it's due to sending a message of, hey, get the vaccine, get the booster so we don't have to do this next year? Or do you think it's also the fact to kind of lessen potential belligerent, drunken people from walking the streets and driving around and trying to keep things safe and all that? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check me out at the Teespring store. Also check me out at BW Roses on VENMO. Check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses. Check me out at BW Roses Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. I'm close to 300 podcasts. Also check me out if you're listening to the podcast on Anchor.fm. I have listener support activated and everything, so you can help support me there. Also, I have video podcasts, enabled as well. So if you listen to any audio podcast or video podcast on certain affiliates like Spotify, you can get two choices there. As well as check me out at as well as check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2 to help support me there. And like I said, check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses to help support there too. But let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about this? And I'm out.